Lufia II's Ancient Cave is known throughout the RPG speedrunning community as one of the most random and difficult challenges that a speedrun has to offer. As a roguelike minigame within the main experience of Lufia II, it's surprisingly complex and requires a ton of knowledge to complete consistently. This is one of the many things that draws people to the game. Every run is different, and it favors a player's understanding of the cave over sheer execution of difficult tricks. A dedicated community has been built around this concept, with people not only consistently running the game, but also organizing tournaments and events to create more unique ways to take on this challenge. However, there's one subcategory that many refuse to touch, with it going against everything the cave stands for. So today, I'm going to tell you about Ancient Cave's RNG manipulation categories, and why no one runs them. Are you tired of your boring, unhealthy meals? Does your current meal plan leave you with a sense of emptiness that keeps you awake at all hours of the night? If you answered no, then I guess I have no choice but to manipulate RNG until I can get a yes from you. Now that you've said yes, I'd like to introduce you to today's sponsor, HelloFresh. Give HelloFresh a try and choose from their biggest menu yet with 45 plus dinner options and even more market items that suit any healthy lifestyle. Packed with fresh ingredients, everything arrives pre-portioned and right at your doorstep for less hassle and more tasty goodness. One of my favorite meals is their creamy chive salmon with roasted potato wedges and lemony zucchini. I've personally cooked this one a few times, and I think my favorite part of it was the salmon with the Dijon mustard chive sauce. Now look, I know you're skeptical, so hear me out here. I've got a special deal for you. They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and HelloFresh agrees. In fact, they're giving all subscribers free breakfast for life. That means you'll enjoy a totally free breakfast item with every single HelloFresh delivery. So click the link in the description or use my code and get free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while subscription is active. Thanks again to HelloFresh, where eating healthy will never take a bite out of your schedule. Now I'm going to assume that all of you know about Lufia II and how the game works, but I do want to talk briefly about the Ancient Cave. The cave is located in Gruberik, just part way through the game. Players can access this cave in the main story or through another game mode called Gift Mode from the File Select menu. For the sake of speedrunning, everyone uses Gift Mode as it lets them access every playable character in the building above where they start. The cave is your typical roguelike where you start at level 1 with very limited items. The dungeon is 99 floors deep, with the difficulty increasing the further you go into the dungeon. The goal is to reach the bottom while getting equipment, spells, items, and levels from defeating enemies. At the end is a boss called the Master Jelly, and there's two ways to complete this fight. First, players can defeat the jelly normally through attacks and abilities. The fight is really simple because the players won't ever take damage from the boss. However, on turn 4, the jelly runs away and the fight would be considered lost. The other way to win the fight is to kill all party members in some way. Even though you get the defeated screen, the game returns you to just outside the fight and it's treated as a win. The regular Ancient Cave speedrun requires players to defeat the jelly the normal way, depleting all 9,980 hit points before he runs away on turn 4. In order to do this, there's a combination of strategy and luck needed. Strategies for completing the cave have been documented since the late 1990s, and while the speedrunning community mentioned the cave off and on in the 2000s, it wouldn't be until the 2010s where we would see single segment speedruns of the Ancient Cave on twitch.tv. Runners such as That's Fair Zach and Almagus would bring the times down from 2.5 hours all the way down to just under 54 minutes in October of 2014. This all was a combination of luck and a better understanding of the game as a whole over the years. Part of this understanding was uncovering how the game worked under the hood, and how to influence different aspects of the game that favored runners when taking on Lufia II in general. In early 2007, a tool-assisted speedrunner by the name of Gunty completed and submitted a full run of Lufia II to taskvideos.org, the premier website for all reputable TASes. For those who don't know what a TAS is, it's a speedrun played frame by frame with the assistance of different tools, like emulators and save states. These are set up as input files, where they can be given to anyone else and play back the exact same way they were created. Gunty used these tools to make a task that was just over 3 hours in length. Now, while this task is impressive, what's really important here is the work Gunty did to uncover how RNG works in Lufia II. Gunty shared this information with the community on the Speed Demos Archive forum, the hub for all things speedrunning at the time, and that was one hell of a knowledge drop for those interested in the run. A write-up from a user named Holy Smoke on his personal website details this information in a digestible format. When the console powers on, the RNG seed is set to the exact same values every time. This is all only changed when a value is pulled from the RNG pool. This can be compared to other NES and SNES games during that era, where it was found that players can start a manipulation in a similar way. Coming back up to simpler concepts that influence RNG, these things are NPCs moving around randomly, performing actions in a menu, taking 5 or more steps in the overworld, enemy movement in dungeons, interacting with some overworld objects, and certain actions in battle. All of these are important in understanding and mastering how to manipulate the game. Unfortunately, even with Lufia II's RNG values being solved back in 2007, it would take 5 years before someone decided to use it in runs. In early 2012, a runner of Lufia II's Japanese version, Maru, found a way to manipulate the game in a real-time setting all the way up to the catfish boss about 10 minutes in. The manipulation started from power on, and it worked by performing actions perfect down to the frame up until that point. Thankfully, the inputs the player performed could be buffered in a way that allowed them to come out on the first frame every time. This made it easier to do the manip, but no consistent way was found at the time to push past the catfish, and no more developments would be seen until 2014. Over the course of that year, a runner by the name of Pandulum was able to extend the manipulation all the way to the Tarantula boss fight, just over 37 minutes into the 80% run. The idea was to start the game with no save files and create a new file to make the RNG the same each time players go into the game. Now this was huge, and runners of the main game were implementing this into their attempts as much as they could. As for runners of the Ancient Cave, they were not interested in this at all. They felt that the manipulation sucked the soul out of the cave, potentially turning the roguelike that was endless fun into a grind that required only a few perfect inputs. However, there was someone still working on this despite the community's stance on the manipulation, and within a few months of the extended manip being implemented for the main game, one of the most controversial runs in Ancient Cave history would be completed.
Woo!
A veteran speedrunner by the name of Yogi the Monk completed a fully manipulated run of the Ancient Cave in 19 minutes and 20 seconds on February 11th of 2015, over 34 minutes faster than Elmagus' record at the time. While Yogi did take it slow on the last floor to ensure that the jelly fight went as expected, he manipulated all 99 floors of the cave with all the equipment drops and encounters needed to kill the jelly. This was Yogi's first completed Ancient Cave run, an impressive feat considering he had no runs of the non-manip Ancient Cave category under his belt. Both Yogi and his chat were excited to see this through, as Yogi put in a ton of effort planning out the route to make this happen. While Yogi's community was happy for him in this run, the Ancient Cave speedrunning community did not feel like his run belonged. Now, while there was plenty of disdain for Yogi's run, it didn't break any rules for the 80% category, so it was allowed to be on the leaderboard above all the others that did not use manipulation. However, many in the community did not recognize this run as the real Ancient Cave record, pointing back to the time that Elmagus achieved not too long before Yogi's time. Years passed, and while there were still times that the community was stirred up by someone asking about how to do the manip or even challenging the run itself, Yogi's run still sat up on the boards. This didn't stop others from continuing their cave diving, with the community still active in submitting runs and even holding events that gave players new ways to enjoy the cave. There were other runners who got in on the fun as well, including a top Final Fantasy IV SNES runner by the name of The Roth. The last time I talked about The Roth on this channel, it was when I covered the no credits warp category where he currently has the record. This is a high skill run that involves massive glitches and RNG manipulation, and with that being said, I think you can see where this is going. Shortly after getting a sub-hour time in the cave without manipulation, The Roth took to creating a route that would outperform Yogi's in August of 2018. Remember, Yogi had to take it slow and take some encounters in the later floors before finally beating the jelly, wasting several minutes. Roth was starting to get the ball rolling by optimizing this, and the community started up discussion on how to handle a category split if the run was successful. Because of how most runs start in the Ancient Cave, many runners will see their first floor looking the same as others. It was a slippery slope where many runners were unintentionally manipulating the first floor, and the community had to decide what needed to be defined as manipulation for the category. In the meantime, the Roth was pushing further with his route, getting a manipulated personal best of 41 floors before dropping it on August 17th. This run requires brutally precise play, and the community expected this to take some time for the Roth to get the entire run down. There were 58 floors left plus the jelly fight, so surely he wasn't that close to completing a run, right? It took just 4 days after that post for the Roth to destroy Yogi's time, coming in at 10 minutes and 45 seconds. With this run being the second manipulated time eligible for submission, it was time for the community to open up discussion on the rule set. After a ton of conversation, the community voted in favor of splitting the categories into manipulated and non-manipulated and made the changes in early September 2018. It looked as though the community reached the bottom of that slope, but shortly after the rules were shared on the Speedrun.com forum, Yogi chimed in and ended up joining the Ancient Cave Discord to talk more about the changes. The talks about the rule set quickly devolved into a shouting match about the integrity of the leaderboard and the moderator team not having a clue about how speedrunning works. 8 days and 1 Discord ban later, the community put the matter to rest and balance was restored to the Ancient Cave. So despite all of that excitement and changes to the categories, only 2 more runs would end up on the any % manipulated leaderboard. One run that happened previously from a runner named Travatox, and another record set by the Roth that defeated the Jelly in just 8 minutes and 35 seconds. This doesn't cover everything though, because there are other categories in the Ancient Cave that received their own manipulation section. The any % glitch category, where runners can die on the Jelly fight, saw some activity by a few runners, with Yogi the Monk achieving a 6 minute and 16 second time on October 23rd of 2018, and the Roth coming back a few years later with a 5 minute and 45 second time on June 25th of 2021. 2 more categories that had manipulation routed out were Iris %, with the goal of getting all the collectible Iris items in the cave as fast as possible, in addition to Providence %, which involved getting the Providence item and warping out the cave as fast as possible. Both of these records are held by the Roth and are now just over 2 years old, so it's likely that these won't be improved anytime soon, and for good reason. Frame perfect play, regardless of the ability to buffer inputs in advance or anything like that, is tough and incredibly stressful. Many in the community would rather stick to running the cave normally, where historic moments like these can happen.
Oh yeah, that's pretty much good. I got away. I can't believe that. Oh, fuck you, dude! That's... Oh my god, no! Why?
Oh, there will be no egg rings, unfortunately. I was thinking about doing a randomizer today, though, to be... Are you kidding me? Oh my god, dude, that's the greatest thing I've ever fucking seen.
If Lufia II's Ancient Cave interests you, check out the incredibly detailed resources in the description below that were put together by runners Creekspire and Real Critical. Stay hydrated, folks, and thank you so much for watching.